using this $10 jacket from Costco since I got it. I think it was a couple of days before Christmas. And yes, I am aware that it's fluffy and it might make me look bigger, as some people pointed out. But I don't care. I feel like I'm being hugged by a very warm bear. So if you haven't stopped at Costco and you, like me, enjoy being warm, maybe this is going to be the jacket that you need. I warn you, some people say it's too fluffy, so it's up to you, but it's just way too cold to be without a heater, so I need as much help as I can get. But today we are going to talk about one of those cases that it was requested a long time ago, and as I was changing planners, I found a little list of requested videos. And not only that, I've already done the research for this video, so I've decided to kind of go through it once again and share with you this case about Johnny Gosch. If you are that person that requested this video, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. I guess my organization or my planner is not as organized as I thought. Also, my computer is making some interesting fan noises, so I hope that you can take it as some kind of white noise and it's not going to bother you, but I have the volume to the max right now and I can hear it and it's bothering me. So before I get started, I want to say thank you to everyone that recently joined Patreon. I've been sharing exclusive videos there, and a lot of people's requests, I guess, and the requests get more and more interesting, and I am so excited that you guys not only choose to support the channel, but I feel like my camera is rocking. Stay. Anyways, I love that you guys take the time to send me messages and let me know what you guys want to do or want to see over there on Patreon. As always, I have a zoo. I have my older dog that snores under this table, and I have my huge dog to my right, and I have a bunny behind me. I put him in a cage so he's not being way too crazy, but maybe I'll add some scenes at the end because he likes to go on my bed and just jump around. And I was trying to record this video and you could see his face coming from there, like he knew he was being filmed, and it was distracting to me. So there you go. Now, if you're new here and you're wondering why I'm whispering, just read the title. It's there, and it will be whispered from the beginning until the end of the video. And if you're new and you enjoy the channel, welcome. For everyone else, thank you so much for choosing to come back each week sun is not out per se, but it gets a little bit lighter around 7:20. So he was used to going to pick up his newspaper while it was still dark outside, and he was spotted, as I said, getting the newspaper from wherever he picked it up. I'm assuming somewhere in the neighborhood between 6 and 7 a.m. But then his parents started to receive calls from the neighbors asking where Johnny was. It was very uncommon for him to be late, so people were starting to worry about, was he sick or did something happen to him? So when his parents realized that he was not doing his route, they decided to call the police immediately to report him as missing. Now, the police didn't think anything of it. And remember, we're talking about the year 1982, no Amber Alert or anything like that. But it was said that initially they didn't think that he was kidnapped or that he was in any kind of trouble, but maybe that he was a runaway. But his parents knew as soon as they started to walk around the neighborhood that this was no, he didn't willingly leave. They found his red wagon where he kept the newspapers with the newspapers inside, but he was nowhere to be found. The police didn't have any kind of indication that this was a kidnapping. There was no ransom letter or call. So the protocol back then was to wait 72 hours before actually starting to look for the kid, which I know right now it seems like a crazy idea. But again, this was something that was typical and not specifically for, the town where they were at. His parents knew that something was wrong or something really bad happened to Johnny. They immediately went to the media and started to have little segments in different shows where they could basically spread the word and just kind of show Johnny's picture, trying to get help from at least the public, if not the police. Now, Johnny, well, his face was everywhere. They printed posters, and he was one of the first kids to go the picture in the milk cartons, which is something that now we know as, the typical kind of older cases, children that go missing. But at the time, it was something new, and basically everyone knew his face, and it was kind of a nationwide case. wasn't sure if it was near Nebraska, so I had to do my research. Yeah, that's just me forgetting about where the states are located. But Nebraska, in case that you're not from the U.S. or you don't remember, like I didn't, is a bordering state with Iowa. So when they asked, did you write down the license plate? Because one of them, I think it was Mike, he specifically said that he found it very odd that Johnny was talking to this guy and that it seemed like he was giving him directions or something like that, which I don't know, maybe back then it was more normal, but nowadays if you see a kid by himself with a grown man in a car asking for directions, I would like to think that a grown-up would either stay around and see what happens or kind of walk into that conversation and try to help from a grown-up perspective. I think that they were both very, I don't know, they were regretting not doing anything about it. And one of them remembered that he looked at the license plates, tried to remember them, but that he couldn't, and that he was hoping that at one point he was going to, either have a dream about those numbers or something, because he just couldn't believe he couldn't remember. However, that was it. That was the last time that he was seen by a neighbor or in the area where he delivered the newspapers. 2 months after he disappeared, a woman in Oklahoma said that she saw little Johnny screaming and asking basically for help, but that 2 guys came and took him with them. Again, I don't know what that is all about. I think that if there's a kid screaming for help and I don't care that there are 2 guys around him, I would have said something, I would have done something, maybe even scream myself to get attention from other people. But in this lady's defense, maybe she did and it was not shared. But this is the second case I researched recently of people seeing somebody that went missing and that they either put that person in a car and they were struggling or stuff like that you're like, how is that even possible? How is it possible that nobody did anything or stopped those guys or intervened, called the police, took a license plate, followed them to where they were walking? But again, maybe she did and it was not reported in the news article. All that we know is that took us nowhere because there were no other reports of seeing him in the state of Oklahoma. And then it was cold for 15 years. I mean, they had no suspects, no arrests, nothing, no sketch, nothing. And I just can't even imagine what Johnny's parents were going through. Now, it was cold for 15 years, and I think the year 1993, so before the 15 years, Noreen and John got a divorce. In March of 1997, reported that she got a knock on Johnny, her son, and she let the guys inside the house where they stayed for about an hour. She later said that Johnny, or this guy that said that was Johnny, was kind of saying stuff but looking at the other guy that was with him to kind of get approval. And basically, Johnny said that he was taken by this guy to underage sex ring. And sorry, I just have to say it like that. He said that he was taken by these people, and that once he was old enough to not be needed, to say it, to put it in a nice way, they got rid of him. But he said that these people were watching over him, and just to make sure that he didn't open his mouth, so it wasn't safe for him to come back. I swear there are some random noises. I don't know what they're coming from, but anyways, so he also said that very powerful and very well-known people were the ones behind the whole organization, and that even if he tried to go public, these people were powerful enough to discredit him and actually maybe even kill him and make it look like an accident. So in a few words, he came home to say, "I'm okay. This is what happened. But just so you know, I can't come back." And he would have been 27 years old at this point when he went to visit his mom. Now, Noreen went to the FBI and described her son appearance. She went into detail on, what he looked like. He had shoulder length hair. He had his hair dyed black, and he was wearing jeans, a shirt, and a coat. I am not sure if she described the other guy. I couldn't find any information about this other guy, but I'm assuming she did, even though it was not reported. But the FBI thought that she was kind of maybe imagining things, that maybe she was seeing things as a grieving mother, because there was no evidence, there was no, she didn't have a witness. She lived alone, and it was in the middle of the night. So they basically couldn't believe that Johnny was the one that went to visit her, or they were not sure that this encounter even happened. As I mentioned before, working with the police was a nightmare. So Noreen was seen like the crazy mother at the time, but she was persistent, and she even pushed a bill, Johnny Gosch bill, that basically South Des Moines, and his name was Eugene Martin. Same kind of situation, very, very similar. He was never found, so she was starting to see some patterns and some things that were going on in the area that kind of fitted what this guy told her that she believed was Johnny. The year 2006, Noreen opened her front door and found some pictures on her doorstep. The pictures were allegedly from this sex ring that Johnny was at when he was a kid. The authorities took the pictures, and there was a letter explaining later on, I think, that, those boys were some Florida boys that went missing. But one of the pictures had a boy that looked like Johnny, but it was not clear, so that boy was never identified from the picture. Noreen even published a book, self-published a book, that the name is Why Johnny Can't Come Back Home, and basically she covers how terrible her experience was with the police, the 72 hours nonsense that they had at the time. And something that really bothered me was that the police told her that this was likely not a kidnapping because they had no motive. They couldn't find a motive for a kidnapping or a ransom letter, which it's a bunch of nonsense to me, because I don't think we need to find a motive for a kidnapping and in order to treat it as a kidnapping. So to me, it's kind of stupid that they said that, and I completely agree with Noreen. But it's very interesting. The book kind of tells a story, as a mother, perspective, and how she had to go through all the barriers from the authorities, and how they believed that he was a runaway when all the evidence pointed to another direction. So I also read something that it kind of bothered me, but I don't know much about it, but I thought I'd share it. And it's that when Eugene Martin disappeared 2 years after Johnny did, she said that she already knew that that was going to happen. She said that apparently the PI told her that they were going to take a boy from South Des Moines and that he was going to be a paperboy. And I don't know. I don't know if she told the police about this, and the police were like, well, this lady is crazy and we cannot trust her. Or if she didn't say anything, I don't know. But if the PI had that information, I don't understand how this was not used, if not to prevent what happened to Eugene, but to kind of let people know that something was up and that it was possible, that there was a possibility of that happening, and so adults can make, decisions and say, we're gonna take care of our children at least on that week, and kind of dig where this information was this guy, Paul, I think Bonacci, who was 21 years old at the time, who came up with a statement saying that he was also taken to that same SEX ring and that he spent a lot of time with Johnny. He met with Noreen and he told Noreen things that only Johnny would know. So Noreen believed him, but the police didn't really. He came up with a name, and the name was Lawrence E. King Jr., who was a Republican Party activist and the director of a credit union in Nebraska, which, again, it kind of goes with the car or the license plates that were seen by the neighbors with this guy that was talking to Johnny. This kid, this 21-year-old kid, because I have a 21-year-old kid myself, but Paul, let's call him Paul. He said that, okay, he was together with Johnny, and he would even describe like a scar that Johnny had in his tongue, which is something that she didn't even tell the police, or tell the police, didn't tell. You got me? It's 4 a.m. Yeah. So he was saying that this guy was the one that was behind that, and that he was the one that victimized him and Johnny from a very young age. There was a trial, and apparently it was ruled as a hoax, and he was charged with perjury. Paul was charged, but Mr. King was also charged with something that had nothing to do with that SEX ring. But apparently he was charged with fraud. I don't know if that was in the same trial, which would make it a little crazy because it has nothing to do with what he was sued for. But apparently Mr. King was looting $40 million, and he actually got 15 years in prison and was released in the year 2001. However, he was never, there was not enough proof to say that he was the one that took this boys. But Paul had a very good lawyer, and in the year 1999, while Mr. King was still in jail, he sued him for punitive damages, I guess, once he was not able to prove that he took him. And he won because he didn't show up for court, and he, Mr. King, who was in jail, he didn't respond to the lawsuit, so he was awarded $1 million. And I'm talking about Paul, the 21-year-old kid who said that was taken to this SEX ring that this guy, Mr. King, was behind. Now, Johnny was never found. This person that the mom described was never found. And I think it's a super sad story, considering the mom treated like pretty much a crazy person and a grieving person that would make up stuff. But I think that with the pictures and everything that she received, because somebody. It's possible. But at the same time, I feel so bad with or for Noreen because I can't imagine as a mother to have to go through this, and the authorities 15 years later kind of doing the same thing as when her son went missing, kind of discrediting her. And I just can't even put myself in her shoes, and I wouldn't want to. But such a sad story. And if that guy in fact was little Johnny, he's alive, okay, but he's really living, after living in those conditions, being a slave basically, and enduring all that abuse from grown-ups. And as a boy, or as a kid I should say, it must really break you, break your spirit to kind of accept that as your fate and as your life. And once out, still being chased by the ghosts of people that had a hold on you for the longest time, and now be afraid of being killed or, killing your family. So I don't know if that in fact is Johnny, if that kid that showed up there was Johnny. But I think that either scenario, him being dead or him being alive and endured that lifestyle for so many years, I don't know what's sadder or what's best in those two scenarios, I just can't. And just having other cases of other boys in a close by area and disappearing under the same circumstances. One of them even with a newspaper route. It makes you wonder, was this a serial killer, or was this somebody who was recruiting these kids and putting them into this lifestyle? I really don't know what the answer is, but whatever it is, it's not a good one. And nobody should have to go through that. And with no help from the authorities, I think that makes it so much worse. Let me know if there's something you want to add to this case. My camera cut off sometime. I'm gonna go through the footage and the audio, and maybe I'll have to put like a black screen for a little bit if I miss something that was not recorded. It's a story of my life, so I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much for putting up with this face at 4 a.m. and all the craziness on my channel.